Hadi Om to everyone. Happy Monday. We get to explore the Sutras, this amazing wisdom once again through the eyes of the Rishi Patanjali. He's describing so many abilities as a spiritual being which we can develop into if we recognize that we are not the temple, earth, water, fire, air, ether. If we just get this deeper realization of who we are, then some abilities will come out naturally. You don't have to endeavor for them. They come as byproducts to the power, the force that will come out of the spiritual being whom we are, which is, we call it LOVE, love, that force. All the other powers that he's describing are byproducts of that realization. And we're at the mantra, we're in book 3, and we just completed mantra 26 last time. So we are on mantra 27, and it's amazing. He describes that if the concentration on the subtle elements, you can develop ability to find things that are lost. You can find, you can obtain information of a place which is far apart. And just the fact, and I will explain, just the fact that you can see, I'm in Hawaii right now. If you're in Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, New York, South America, you could see in the room right now, and you can tell everyone, hey, Yogi Charu is wearing in the burgundy color shirt, and he has some white earpods in detail. So he says that's an ability to see across time. So the yogis they had that ability without this modern technology of the internet or Zoom. So that just tells us that the abilities they're right, the Rishi write down, that we can do this now through technology. It means the human mind is evolving to what the power is that's in the mind. And so we are on another beautiful part of the sutra, part 3. The next 3 mantras, Patanjali is going to describe in a nutshell for us the planetary systems, astrology, and how the sun and the moon, and it's just so profound that he mentions this in his thesis, because a fundamental aspect of the yoga culture in the ancient time, we leave that, but just for today, if you go to a yoga class today in the Western world, there's a high probability the teacher will say, now we're going to do sun salutation, Surya Namaskar. Yet hardly any of those teachers recognize, that the whole culture of yoga was built around the movements of the planetary system. It's amazing. So here's where Patanjali, and again, Patanjali only used 3 mantras to describe it. In other Vedic texts, they spend more time. Like you can get a whole book just on astrology, like huge. It's, but here he just concise it. So he says here, mantra 27. He says, by Samyam on the sun, knowledge of the entire solar system is obtained. Amazing, right? The Bhuvana, that's the Sanskrit word he used. Bhuvana means the solar system. And Surya, right? If you go to yoga, you'll hear the term Surya Namaskar. So Surya is on the sun. Samaya means your performance. So if you understand, it says knowledge of the solar system is gained by meditating on Surya. So I think every one of us as a child, when we start to age and our intelligence starts to kick in more, every one of us look up in the sky and wonder, how was that sun created? And then at nighttime, we see the stars and the moon. When we were kids, we probably can't remember now, but we like fascinated, like, wow, how does the moon get smaller and bigger? But yet we don't see that with the sun. You don't see the sun half sun Earth, right? So we start to question things. Quarter sun, you don't see that. You see quarter moon, half moon, full moon. The moon wanes and waxes, the sun is constant. So so this wisdom is already within us because we ask ourselves, we're born in this universe. How did I land on planet Earth? I think everyone at one point in their life asked themselves that question. And how is the movements of the planets work? So Patanjali is giving us a hint here. And in the yoga culture, the sun, the solar system, we look at it into three parts: the sun and the cosmos, the stars, the constellations, and then we try to understand the planets and how they move into different constellations. So when we come to the yoga culture, Surya in different texts can relate to the Pingala pathway in our psyche. So if we can meditate on that pathway, a lot of information about the universe comes because we get enlightened from within. It means also you can meditate on the physical sun. So normally, I grew up in the Caribbean, and so the fishermen, and even I'm here in Hawaii, the fishermen, they work with how the sun and the moon moves. Like if you live in a place where you can see the sunrise every day, you will start to notice the sun is shifting. Today it rose up here. 2 weeks later, it rose up here. A month later, it rose up. So it's still rising up in the east, but it's changing where it's coming out of. And then after 6 months, it comes back. It comes back the same way, right? So if you're able to see where the sun comes up, you'll see it goes 6 months this way, rise, and then 6 months it'll rise, come back the other direction. And then the mind starts to question, wait, what's triggering that? So if you're not in the yoga culture, if you weren't brought up with the yoga culture, every culture who witnessed sunrise, sunset starts to question and understanding the planetary forces. The next, in the Western world, we use astronomy, right? To try and understand the sun, the galaxies and all that. And in the Vedas, we read that we can't come across any, they haven't found any, archaeologists haven't found anything of an instrument that these rishis use. So they were able to use their mind. Their mind became, today we're in Hawaii, there's a big telescope on one of the mountains here. Big argument right now. The locals don't want them to build it. So but it's a powerful skill to look up into the sky at night, planetarium, to figure out that power of that telescope is not even 1/3 the power of the mind of a yogi, because the yogi, they had that laser, they could see the planetary system from their inner vision, understanding how the sun moves east, how the sun moves like this coming up, and where it sets. So if you're in a place where you can see the sunrise or sunset, get into that beautiful habit to every day go witness it and look at the direction. And if you meditate on it every day, see how it moves, wisdom from within starts to come out, and the understanding of the powerful solar system where we have what we're living in. So the rishis, they didn't had telescope, but they had a laser man, which was even more powerful, because the telescope that we use is created out of a scientist's mind, right? Everything we are using came out of the mental plane. So that same mental plane that our scientists have, that same mental plane the rishis tapped into, even more powerful. And you hear stories like the rishis would travel from one planet to another planet. They would go visit Brahma on Brahmaloka. Then they'll go to Tapaloka. So they understood the pathways around in this universe. In Kali Yuga, that knowledge got lessened. So he explains that so the sun, he says, once we meditate on the sun, we can get a glimpse of he says, knowledge of the solar system is obtained. Let's go to the next mantra, because it's 3 mantras he used. The next mantra, he says, by Samyam on the moon comes knowledge of the stars and arrangement. So moon in Sanskrit is Chandra. And Tara, maybe you might come across, Chandra is my last name. So when my teacher did my charts, when I got initiated in the yoga culture, he understood that when I took birth, the prominent planet in my chart was guiding me was Chandra. So that's why I got the name Charu Chandra. But then some friends of mine, they have the name Tara. You might come across Indian girl or Indian guy. And I said, what's your name? My name is Tara. Tara means stars. So here Patanjali use these words. Chandra Tara Vidyudanam. Knowledge of the stars and the moon. If you know meditate on the moon, comes the knowledge of the stars and their arrangement. So the moon is always rotating around our Earth. And if you meditate on it, I always like to ask students, how many full moons do you witness in 1 year? And for the first time, anytime I ask people that the first time, people are like, never thought of it. So there's 13 full moons we get to witness in 1 full year. So I want you to do this arithmetic right now. If you are 40 years old, calculate how many full moons you should have witnessed so far in this life. Do it right now. If we see 30 full moons in 1 year, multiply that by your age, and then add on the months after your last birthday. And when you get that number should just bewilder your mind. Like, wow, that's so many full moons, right? And not only full moons, but the same equal number of new moons. So what does new moon, full moon really means? It just means the energy from the sun, right, which the moon is reflecting. Once the moon is between the earth and the sun, that's when we have a new moon. Once the moon goes 180 degrees on the other side of the earth, away from the sun. So when we have a full moon, right? It's just a reflection being blocked, opaque. We call it combust, new moon, or it's full. And in a few days, we'll have another full moon. So if we get so many full moons, and then we start to understand the stars and the full moon. Does anyone know how many stars are in the sky? If you read any book or you hear anyone lecture, they'll say, oh, there's millions of stars, right? But that's an incomplete answer. Or if someone has a really powerful telescope, they can pick up few more, but our naked eye, just the naked eye that we have, we can pick up around 2,000 stars in our night sky. 2,000, amazing. I remember we would be in the Himalayas, and I got so good at looking up, picking up different parts. And then now I'm in Hawaii. Ooh, whenever it's not too cloudy, which is most of the nights, me and my wife, we just lie on our back and stargaze. It's a beautiful thing to do. It allows you to really start to meditate, which Patanjali is saying here. Samyam on the moon and the stars. So we have with the naked eye, we have about 2,000 stars we can see with this eye, with the God-gifted telescope God gave us. Now, if you get a man-made telescope and add it on, maybe you can see more. But those stars, they then make up, we call them constellations, right? And all ancient cultures followed the movements of the moon and the stars. Does anyone know which star never moves? The constellations are rotating, but there's one star that doesn't move. And that's called the Dhruva. That's the next mantra. Patanjali says the Dhruva. We call it, in the Western world, we call it the pole star or the North Star. So in the yoga culture, Dhruva is a yogi, and his energy is in the pole star. So if you know, in Hawaii, the Polynesians, when I moved here 4 years ago, I got enamored by the Polynesian culture because it's so rich, so similar to the yogic culture. The Polynesians, they used to travel by boat, and they wouldn't have a compass, no compass. And they can go from Tahiti to Hawaii without a compass. And they still do it up to today. It's a practice that was lost, but one guru who understood the constellation, and he came to Hawaii a few years ago to teach it. So now they have revived it, and they have 3 boats that normally travel together, and they went to New York. They went from Hawaii to New York without a compass. It's called a hokulea. You can put these Polynesians anywhere and they would never get lost. You put them anywhere on this planet, you put them in the Amazon desert, the Amazon forest, the desert, and the Sahara desert, you put them, they will never get lost. They know exactly where they are following the stars. So all ancient cultures had this wisdom. And I think as kids, we get fascinated with the stars, but we just look up and, the only thing most people learn is Big Dipper. Who can pinpoint the Big Dipper in the sky? Right? After that, people give up, right? So they are in the yoga culture and the Polynesian culture. When I was learning, my teacher explained there's about 88 constellations. and our physical eyes can pick up in our galaxy right here. Ours can pick up. If you learn like 30 constellations, that's what the Hawaiian Polynesians they know. You can never get lost. You can be in a plane, you look outside, you see where the star, you know where you're at. You can be in the ocean on a boat, or you can be on land, can't get lost. And there's an amazing intelligence in the universe that teaches that. Why is there so aligned? It's amazing. So I think as you start to evolve, we start to become inspired by the wisdom of the moon and the stars. And what happens is when you start to see constellations moving, you start to recognize when the seasons are coming, right? Most people, we only feel it when it's getting cold, but the Risha, I can look up in the sky, and when I see certain constellation coming up, I can tell this season is coming, that season is coming, another season. You can learn it. It's very easy to learn, but you just have to dedicate yourself to looking up in the stars at night. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a nice hobby. You don't have to, you can learn it in like 3-4 months. All you need to do is to learn one constellation first, and then you recognize it. Then the next night, another constellation, and then another. And before you know it, oh wow, all what the Greeks said and the Romans said, and that knowledge is still available for us. But and you don't really need to go take a astronomy course to try and figure out. No, you know, even on your iPhone, you can get an app that shows the constellations, right? But you just spend one just trying to figure out where one is. And if the safest, which I was learned, and which the Hawaiians they learned, the first thing they ever learned is where is the North Pole. Amazing. And that's the next mantra from Patanjali. He says, or the pole star. By Samyam on the pole star comes knowledge of the star's movement, because that pole star doesn't move. That pole star stays the same place. All the stars, which make up the different constellations you can read, right? Whether it's the twins or an elephant or a whale or whatever the star's formation is. After a while, you start to learn their language, but they all rotate around the pole star. So if you see the pole star, you're facing the pole star, it means you're facing north. And if you go to the left, you're on the west. And if you go to the right of the pole star, you're on the east. And then right below you is the south. So easy. And how do you figure out the pole star? This is how, if you, in Australia, you don't get it. Because in Australia, when I was in Australia, you don't get the Big Dipper and Small Dipper. What do you get in Australia? You get the Southern Cross. So because it's on a different, below the horizon. So anyone in Australia, you mentioned to an Australian person, have you seen the Big Dipper last night on the phone? No, we don't see that down here. It doesn't. So it's amazing how our planet works. Where on different parts of the globe, you get certain type of constellations of stars. And it's beautiful just to follow and understand, wow, how it works. So if you want to figure out the North Pole, Patanjali says, the pole star, you have to find the Big Dipper. And the Big Dipper is 7 stars. And my Polynesian friends, when I go through it, so you have like a little dipper, right? You have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That makes the dipper. And then you have 3 more going down, 1, 2, 3, like the handle. So to get the pole star, to figure out where the pole star is this is the handle. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 makes the dipper. These 2 last stars out here, with your mind, you draw a line from it about 5 times that, and you'll see another star. And that star is lined up with the 2 stars that make the last piece of the dipper. And that's how you figure out, you'll always see it, and that's the pole star. Once you figure that out, all the other constellations rotate around it. That's what Patanjali is saying here. If you figure out the pole star, your our understanding of the stars and the arrangement becomes easy. And it's a beautiful gift to know that you don't need a compass. Could you imagine you lost your cell phone, you lost a compass, and you wake up somewhere in the middle of nowhere in like a desert or a jungle, and you don't know where you are? What will you have to depend on? The movement of the planets and the sun. So you'll see where the sun is coming up, then you'll know, oh, that's east. When the sun goes down, that's west. Then when the stars come up, you try and find north. And then right from there, you can start to figure out where and how to go back to your place. So it's an amazing art. My Hawaiian friends here, they're so gifted with it. Some of them, there's a course you can do, and they take them on the boat where they go live on the boat, and they travel from island to island without compass, and they move, and they have to follow the tides, and you have to wait for nature and the wind to move you. It's a fascinating to depend on divinity, and you get infatuated, and you get recognized. Wow, this universe is so intelligent, right? How does someone sail from here to New York without a compass? They're following the intelligence of the planetary system. And the planets, they have different forces, different energies that comes upon us. The stars have different forces. And so there's a whole aspect of yoga, which is, astrology, numerology, which is built on the planets and like that. Here, Patanjali is just going a little bit deeper, explaining, if you can figure out the pole star, understand the movements of the stars. If you can figure out the sun and the moon and how they wane and wax the moon, and you start to get an understanding, wait, all those are out there, but because have a micro universe here, you will start to meditate and you'll figure out where the sun is and where the moon is in your organism. So when you see a picture of the subtle aspect, they always draw the moon at the bindu. There's a little bindu at the back. Then they always draw the sun in the psychic center around Manipur chakra. And all the stars that are out there, also the energies of those stars are also here. So there's a whole meditation of meditating on the internal stars and sun and moon right here. And the more you do that, you get a clearer understanding of what's out there. Because we're a byproduct of the macro universe. It's nice to and I think it's in every one of us to appreciate the heavenly bodies. Right now, our planet is circulating the sun right now, going so fast. And the moon is circulating us. And those stars, the pole star, it never moves. It just starts to, everything is rotating around it like an umbrella. If you have an umbrella, you turn. So the pole star is always the point. And then the different spokes that you have coming down, those are rotating around the pole star. It's amazing, amazing universe. So meditating on them. That's some thoughts. Of course, you can go very detailed. Like I said, there's so many books built on this on yoga, on the whole planetary system. But so Patanjali concise it in 3 mantras, and he's just letting us know, oh, if you're developing your spiritual awareness, you should be aware of this universe that we're in and how things work. Every one of us subconsciously know the sunrise. You ask any person, where does the sun rise? South or north? People look at you strange. No, it rises in the east. So we all know that. Now, don't get, where does it set? West. And then don't stop your knowledge of the planets there. Go a little bit deeper, understand them. So that's some notes on this. Let's do a little meditation on it, let it become more internalized. Let's stretch the legs out, wiggle the ankles, and cross the legs back into a nice, comfortable seated posture. Bring the palms on the knees, touch the tip of the thumbs, tip of the index fingers. Close the eyes softly. And use the power of your legs. Push the legs down, lift the spine a little bit taller. And bring the whole body into stillness. Kaya Styram, stillness of the body. Bring the mind into the present moment, still in the mind into the now. Bring the mind on your amazing breath at the entrance of the nostrils. This breath allows us to gain wisdom of the cosmos we're living in. Feel the breath moving in and out. And every breath you take, recognize it has that ability. At one point, that air was near the sun, it was near the moon, it was near Saturn, it was near all the planets, all the stars. And now it's coming into your lungs. And when you exhale, you don't know where it's going to go. It will travel. Sensitize the mind a little bit more. See if you can identify the slight temperature change of the breath. The incoming breath is slightly cooler. The outgoing breath with the body's heat is slightly warmer. Identify the 4 parts of the breath. There's that inhalation, followed by a split-second retention inside, followed by an exhalation, followed by a split-second retention outside, followed by an inhalation again. Keep witnessing the 4 parts of the breath now. Let's equalize the 4 parts of the breath. Move with me. Inhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. Continue at this ratio. If counts of 4 is too strenuous, decrease it to counts of 3. Counts of 4 is too easy, increase it to counts of 5. Your pace, no strain. After the next exhalation, bring the breath back to normal breathing. And gaze into the center of the eyebrows, your vast mind, the chitta, the mind space. And in the center of the eyebrows, I want you to imagine the beautiful Earth planet and recognize you are sitting on the Earth planet right now, whichever part of the globe you're on, South America, Asia, North America. And recognize the Earth planet is following an intelligent orbit around the sun. And as it goes around the sun, I want you to imagine all the other planets in our Bormandal, the other seven major, the moon, as the moon rotates around our Earth. See Saturn. Imagine Saturn is further away from the sun than the Earth. Imagine Mercury, Mars, Jupiter. We are living in this vast universe. And the mandal which you are witnessing, your mind can pick up on the orbits of the different planets around the sun. The rishis refer to it as Bor Mandal. And above us, this describes the cosmos. The whole universe is shaped like an egg. The Bor Mandal, where we're living, is on the middle seven, called the seventh mandal. Above us, there are seven more mandals higher up: Jana Loka, Tapa Loka, Brahma Loka. And then below us, there are six more lokas below us: Mrityu Loka, Attaloka, Pitta Loka. So many planetary systems above us, many planetary systems below us. But within our Bormandal, we can look up and we can see so many stars. I want you to remember a time when you were able to see the stars in the sky. And I want you to see if you can remember a time you witnessed the Big Dipper and the pole star. And if you can remember a time you saw the pole star, you can recognize all the stars that are moving around that pole star. As our Earth is spinning, sometimes it is in the nighttime, we'll be able to get that beautiful glare. Sometimes the part of the globe comes where the sun is, it is daytime. So much beautiful movement taking place. The planets are moving, our Earth is moving, the stars, constellations, but the pole star stays the same. Recognize the moon as it comes between the Earth and the sun. So when it's new moon, you won't see the moon in the night as it's combust. And recognize when the moon is on the opposite side of the Earth from the sun, that's when we have the full moon. And there's a certain intelligence. As many days you've lived on this earth planet, you were able to have the ability to witness so many full moons and so many new moons in this incarnation. And the rishis recognize it is so vast and complex, the universe out there. Even our micro universe is vast and complex. I want you to take your awareness away from the center of the forehead to the back of the head. If you were to lie down on your back, that part of the skull that makes contact with the floor, that's where the yogis recognizes the bindu of the moon. Imagine a beautiful moon in the back of the head. The moon works with the water element and the mind. And then take your awareness beneath your skin, take your awareness down into that region behind the navel and imagine a beautiful sun there. A beautiful sun generates the heat, keeps you warm. Take your awareness to the pelvic floor. The pelvic floor 1 inch below the tip of the tailbone, Muladhara chakra. That's where imagine the powerful planet of Venus. At the tip of the tailbone, see another beautiful planet, this time the planet of Jupiter. Move your awareness up the spine behind the heart. See the beautiful planet of Mars. Imagine the planet of Mercury at the throat. All those beautiful stars. Imagine your veins, your arteries, your capillaries, the pathways. Yogis call it nadis. See your channels as shiny streams of white light, and see thousands of white light moving around the planets in your whole organism. Sometimes you may see a drawing of the silhouette of the astral body where a person's in meditation and a lot of lines going around them. See thousands upon thousands of streaks of white light floating around the planetary systems in your organism. And you, the spiritual being, is just witnessing the elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, turn into organs, turn into systems, turn into these vortexes. And that question that we have, who am I? Why am I on this earth planet? Why does the sun comes up on the east? Why does it set in the west? What is north? What is south? These are questions of a evolved spiritual being to discover who they are. And right next to you, with Paramatma Lord in the heart, who will give you more and more information from within as you contemplate the sun outside. Patanjali says, wisdom of the universe comes. You contemplate the movement of the moon and the stars. You understand the cosmos more. Figure out where the North Pole is. North Pole in the human aquarium, the human body, is at the Sahasrara chakra, the crown chakra. You understand? We're just here for a temporary time in this incarnation. But those planets and stars, they trigger the question, who am I? As you gaze in the center of the eyebrows, I want you to mentally repeat 3 times. I'm going to use this human form to figure out who truly am I. Mentally repeat it 3 times now. Using the gifts of the wisdom from outside and inside, we inspire each other on this journey to figure out who we are. And what connects us to the universe outside and us inside our body is our amazing breath. Become aware of the breath once again at the entrance of the nostrils. Recognizing as you inhale that air was once near the sun, it was once near the moon, near Saturn, Venus. And as you exhale, that air, every exhalation you take will travel somewhere out to the end of the universe, to another planet. So connected in this amazing, vast universe. Take a deep inhalation. Exhale slowly. Chant the Om mantra together once. Om. The palms to the heart. Lower the head towards your higher self. Paramatma Lord in the heart. Namaste. Lift the head. Open the eyes. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you all so much for joining. If you get the chance, do some stargazing tonight or other nights if the sky is clear. Can see the direction where the sun is coming up, where the sun is setting. Being tuned. We're all asking, we're all seeking, what's this all about? And here, these rishis, thousands of years ago, already did it. So we can tap into that same mental plane. I look forward to seeing. If I don't see you tomorrow we'll have class. If I don't see you tomorrow for Nidra, have a happy Thanksgiving. Then I will resume class again next Monday. But Yoga Nidra is on tomorrow. Thank you so much, Margaret. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Bashak. Mahalo, Greg. Thank you, Noreen.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Helen and Zaline.
Thank you, Yogi.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Yogi Charu.
Thank you, Yumiko.
Thank you, Yogi Charu.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matilda. Thank you, Subin.
Thank you, Yogi.
Thank you, Jovita. Mahalo, Babadi. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Becky. That's